Hello and welcome to PrepEve, where we revolutionize how you prepare for IELTS. So today we'll be starting with the first kind of question, which is yes, no, not given, or true, false, not given. Let's get started. Let's just have a look at a flowchart which will ease your task of finding out if a statement is true, false, or not given. Okay, so first of all, can you locate the information in the passage? The first thing that you have to do is you have to locate the information in the passage. Read the question, understand what it means, look at the keywords, but don't fixate yourself at the keywords. You have to understand the entire meaning of the question. Once you understand the meaning of the question, look for that particular sentence in your passage which talks about the same information. Look for that particular sentence in your passage. Once you locate it, if you're locating it, if you have found that particular sentence in your passage, then you have to compare it. Second step is to compare. Okay, you have to locate that information in your passage. Once you have located that information in your passage, you have to compare it. Once you have compared the question as well as the statement or the sentence in your passage, you have to see whether it matches or it contradicts. If the two statements or the two sentences in the question and the passage match each other or they conform to each other, then your answer will be true or yes. Okay, if it matches, it will be true or yes. However, after you compare and you find that the sentences contradict each other, there is no sync between the two, then the obvious answer would be false or no. So if it contradicts, false. If it matches, yes or true. So you have to compare. However, if you're trying to locate that information in the passage, something associated with it would definitely be written in the in the passage, even if the answer is not given. So you locate that particular sentence and after that you realize that the information is incomplete. So not found because it's incomplete. So you will find some similar sentence in your passage, but it would be incomplete. So if it is incomplete and you cannot find the exact information which is mentioned in your question, then you will answer it as not given. Okay, if you cannot find it in a complete manner and also if you cannot check for the answer. If you cannot check for the information, then it will be not given. So this is your flow chart. You can have a look at it and I hope it gives you the gist of how to go about solving these kind of questions. True, false, not given. Yes, no, not given. Ma'am, how do I solve this particular problem? Ma'am, please, this is the problem of reading. I get stuck at this particular kind of question. Could you help me out with this particular thing? I have heard this enough and I'm so glad that we have finally come up with this video and we'll be uploading this one. So true, false and not given, yes, no and not given. Broadly, they both mean the same thing. The slight difference here is that in case of true, false and not given kind of questions, you basically have to understand information. So you need to understand the information given in your question and compare it with the information in your passage. Whereas in case of yes, no, not given kind of questions, you have to understand the writer's opinion. The writer, whatever he has mentioned in the passage, you have to scrutinize that and understand what the writer's opinion is and then tell whether you think that this is the writer's opinion. If it is, then you write yes. If it is not, then you say no, and if it is not mentioned in the passage, you say not given. So what do we have to do in such questions? First of all, let's have a look at the kind of question it will be. So basically in the starting, they'll give you yes, no, not given or true, false, not given. There will be instructions. Then you will have a number of questions underneath that particular instruction and you will have to tell whether these statements that are given in the form of questions are present in the passage or not, or whether they are true, false or not given. Right? So this is how your question would look like. Basically here the instructions would be given. And underneath those instructions, you will be given 3 to 7 or 8 questions depending upon the passage and depending upon the test, and you will have to answer these questions. Right, now what do you mean by true? What do you mean by false? What do you mean by not given? So let's understand that. True and yes mean the same thing. False and no also mean the same thing. Not given is the third option that we have. So, how do you strategize? How do you solve these situations or these kind of problems? So, you read the question. You understand the entire question apart from looking at the keywords. Here, just locating the keyword in the passage might not lead to a correct answer. So what you have to do is, apart from locating the keyword, you also need to understand what the question means as a whole, what the entire question is conveying to you. So that's your task 1. Now in this case, once you have understood what the question is saying, you have to, number 1, locate. You have to locate that particular sentence in your passage. So the question is talking about a certain sentence or a topic, and you have to locate that particular part in your passage. So the first thing is to locate that thing in your passage. Number 2, once you have located, you need to compare. Yes, you need to compare your question with the sentence that you have located in your passage. So for example, your passage, your question says that Rahul is traveling from point A to point B in a car, right? This is your question. Now you have to locate this sentence in which, you have to locate this sentence in the passage where the writer or where it is mentioned that Rahul is traveling from point A to point B. Once you have located that sentence in your passage, the next step is to compare that sentence in your passage with the question given to you. Let's just assume, I'll just write it down, Rahul is traveling from A, I'm not writing the complete thing, to B in a car. So this becomes your question, and you have to locate the sentence in your passage which is talking about Rahul's traveling from point A to point B. So now let's say that you have located the sentence is in line number 3 of paragraph 2. What do you do? Now you compare. Let's assume the line that is written in the passage is that Rahul has boarded a train to travel from point A to point B. Now will it be true, false or not given? Here it says car. In the question it is saying train. What will be the answer? It would be false because the statements are contradicting each other. Yes would obviously mean when the same thing that is being mentioned in your question is written in your passage. Now for example, they would paraphrase it because obviously you won't find that exact same sentence in your passage. If the question says Rahul is traveling from point A to point B in a car, they might say that a car is being used by Rahul to reach point B from point A, right? So here you will say true because you have found that information in the passage. Now, one important thing is that if something is found in the passage, it is obviously true, or you write yes when the writer's opinion matches with the question. If it is false, or if the statements are contradicting while you are comparing them, then you would write false or no. But in case of not given, often what is done is that you assume things. You do not have to make any sort of assumptions or put your opinions. You don't have to do any guesswork. So the third and the most important thing is that while you're comparing, no opinions are allowed. Don't think of any opinions, don't make any assumptions, no assumptions. That okay, if he's traveling from point A to point B, the best mode of conveyance or transportation is car. So probably he's going by a car. You don't have to assume anything at all. Okay, so no opinions, no assumptions, and basically no guesses. No guesswork. You just have to think and read the passage and make your decision and think of the answers, whether it's true, false or not given. No opinions, no assumptions, no guesses, only and only stay and abide by your passage, the content of your passage. You have to stick to it and not waver from that particular content that is provided to you. Okay, so locating the sentence that is talking about the question in your passage is your first step. Second is to compare the sentence that you found in your passage with the one in the question. Third is that while you're comparing, you don't have to put any assumptions or guesses or opinions from your own end. Just read the passage or that particular sentence with a neutral mindset, without any biases or without adding any further information. So another thing that you can add here is, do not add information from your own end. Do not add. So here no is referring to each one of them. So no opinion, no assumption, no guesses, no additional information has to be added while you're making your decision whether the sentence or the question is true, false or not given, or yes, no or not given. So that's about it for the strategy and tips. We'll be moving on with the examples. This was just a slight overview of how you can deal with it. Now I'll give you proper passages and the questions so that you can practice and answer those in the comment section below.